too bright.
Oh, it's saying live now.
No, there we go. All right, hello everybody. I know we're kind of late. We had some issues getting the thing going live here, but we are online now. My cat here is making an appearance. That's Dobby. So he wanted to join apparently. So we're going to just kind of go through. Right now we have Paul Stewart on. He's kind of going to probably hopefully show us a little bit of solar activity going on in the southern hemisphere right now. We have Peter on as well, and Stephen is on, and then I'm on, kind of acting as the host today. My name's Daniel. So welcome. We're probably going to be showing you guys some images. I don't know if anyone besides Paul has any live views going on right now. It is actually clear here in Atlanta where I am, but I don't have my scope set up because it broke last weekend. So I'm currently working with Orion to get it fixed. So Paul, you want to go ahead and show us your view that you're sharing there? There we go.
Alrighty. So we do actually have some sun today, which is unusual.
The sound takes.
Well, so why don't you tell everybody about what you're using to capture this and your process here and what we're seeing.
Righty, well this is through a Lunt LS80 H-alpha scope showing sunspot 2497, which is about the only sunspot on the disk at the moment. It has been actively flaring as late, so with any luck I might decide to do one more on air.
You got some prominences there on the edge shooting up that are really nice.
Great.
And the sun apparently just blew up.
Well, there's a couple of. I've got a photo of a sun that blew up a couple of days ago, so we'll show you that later.
That looks really good right there. Cool. So are you just doing live video right now, or are you actually imaging while this is while you're showing us this?
No, it's just live video. It slows the computer down too much to do any decent imaging while we're live.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely kind of fading in and fading out there. It's pretty cool.
Just a few clouds. It wouldn't be a GSP without them.
Yeah. And just for everyone who is on this listening, Paul is in New Zealand, so it actually is sunny there right now, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul, is this your grasshopper camera?
Yep, that's the one.
Out of the way. So, okay. So, Peter, did you say you had some images you wanted to share as well?
Yeah. Just let me get them up. Give me a second. There's one here of from last night. Actually, it's the one that I didn't have ready. You would just let me grab it. So, as you may know, there was a supernova in Centaurus A just recently, and just looking for the photo that I took of it only not that long ago, a couple of hours ago.
There we go. So, Peter, where exactly are you located?
Well, I'll tell you a bit about myself. I am located in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
So we're currently flogging Paul's mob in the cricket, which is very good. So I shouldn't be too cheeky about that. I am an amateur astronomer here. I affiliate of iTelescope as well, which is itelescope.net, a online virtual observatory. We won't be showing any of that today, but we'll be covering off a couple of things from the Cygnus A. As soon as I find this image, which I thought I already had open, but it's not. And as usual story, it's gone missing on me. So I'll just grab that because it's on my iPad. That's why I can't find it. And so I do STEM coaching in Australia. I'm part of the CSIRO scientists, mathematicians, and ICT in schools program, and I go around to high schools and do some coaching and some fun astronomy stuff, which I'll share with you a little later in the call. And that's a hoot. And I've well connected in the astronomy community here in Australia. So it's great to be with you. I was on the Fraser's Global Star Party a long time ago and haven't been in for quite some time. So I was trying to add a bit of extra southern activity for you mainly on the southern one that we do, I think, on every other weekend. So it's great to be with you all today.
Well, thanks for joining. At least it's summer down there.
Yeah, it is. Here we go.
And so do you have some images you're going to share, or do you want me to cut over to somebody else?
Okay. Go to someone else and come back because I'll just...
Okay. Hey, Stephen, do you have anything ready to share, or you want to do a brief introduction of yourself? And
Sure. I've got an image that I'll pull up in just a second here. Just to guess a little bit about me, I am based in the United States. I'm in Georgia, as Daniel is, and I'm actually in the central part of Georgia, in Macon, Georgia, just almost near the center of the state. And I, of course, have been doing amateur astronomy for about 3 or 4 years now. And I'm going to try to get my screen share to pull up here. I have an image here. I'll see if it'll go through. Can you see that, Daniel?
Yep.
Okay, so what we have here, this is an image that I took actually last weekend at the Deer Lake Astronomy Village, which is located over in East Georgia. It's one of the darker places in the state of Georgia. We're very fortunate to have a nice astronomy village that we can go to and purchase a membership for and that sort of thing. So what we're looking at here at the top of the screen is the brightest star in our night sky. That is Sirius, and you can see the diffraction spikes coming off of that. And actually, I did not use a telescope for this shot. I used a 135 millimeter lens, and those spikes are caused by the blades inside of the lens there. Other people sometimes, to get those spikes, will use some kind of a fishing line or guitar strings or some other technique. But I didn't have to do any of that because, again, the blades in the lens produce that effect naturally. And then down below, at the very bottom of the image, you'll see a little cluster of stars there. And that is actually Messier 41. It's an open cluster that was cataloged by Charles Messier. And if you are in a fairly dark sky site, you can sort of make out that little cluster. If you look at Sirius and then just down below it a bit, you might actually see sort of a little fuzzy patch in the sky. And that is the open cluster, again, Messier 41 there. So this was a shot, again, with a Canon 7D, 135 millimeter lens, and I did crop it a bit, and I did use an Orion Sirius mount for tracking, and this is I believe, a 2-minute exposure here.
It's a nice shot.
I just saw Dobby go by again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Bother. Hey, Stephen, do you have that shot available of Sirius B that we got last weekend?
I do have it. Give me just a minute and I can pull it up.
Okay, we'll go back to Peter real fast to see if he's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Finally I'm ready. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. This will be good. So as you know, Cygnus 1A, Cygnus A, which is one of the brightest sort of galaxies in the southern hemisphere. A lot of the galaxies are found in the northern hemisphere. A lot of the nebulae are found south. But this is quite a unique object where we're kind of looking in at the dust plane with a bright light behind it. So this is an inverse image, partly just to help show the detail. And some of us astronomers, it's easier sometimes when you look at an inverse image. So this is, I don't know if you can see my mouse there, but from the top left to bottom right, you've got the dust cloud of this object, and then that is a bit of an artifact there. It's not an asteroid streaking across it. It sort of showed up in one of the images, and I carefully checked it wasn't there in any of the others. But down in just lower than the middle, you'll see a star here with a little pimple on the side, if you like. That object there, the fainter of the two that's sitting on the edge of that there, is the supernova that's a little bit behind the other star, and it's kind of blown up, and it's got a bright magnitude 8 star in front of it. And this is supernova 2006. It was found about 5 nights ago here in Australia. I took a photo of this last night, especially for you today. Given that it can't be seen at all from the northern hemisphere because it's very far south, close to the south celestial pole, and it's kind of not up at the moment, obviously. So I took this about midnight last night, just before I turned in for the night, and you can see it there. And this is a 120-second image, so if I probably shortened it up to about a 30-second image and took some more and stacked them, we'd get a better separation between the bright star in the foreground and this little one in the background here.
Oh.
So any questions about that? Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I'm happy to see it because we can't see it from the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
When I saw it was a supernova, I was like, "Holy crap! Let's get some images of it." And then I saw where it was, and I was like, "Well, darn it."
Yeah. So it's an interesting story picked up by the BOSS team, and this is the Backyard Observatory Supernova Survey. A bunch of amateur astronomers in Australia. I would consider them as I've often done a talk called Astronomy 3.0, and these are the 3.0 astronomers. They have their own backyard telescopes and that, but there's a guy, and Paul would know, in New Zealand, who takes about 200 images a night, and then there's a guy in Melbourne and a guy in Perth. And by the time that they go through any detections that they pick up, there's a team of about 5 or 6 of them. I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but they're an amazing bunch of guys, and they work the time zone from New Zealand across to Perth really effectively, and they've got amazing number of discoveries to their credit, and they pride themselves on never having once made a false detection and reported something that wasn't actually there because they're careful in their process. So amazing bunch of guys. I met them at the National Amateur Astronomy Convention in 2014, and they did a amazing presentation on their work. And occasionally they've had Hubble call them up and say, "How much time would you like?" Because there was one particular supernova they discovered about 2 years ago that was pretty significant because it went off almost in exactly the same spot as one had previously gone off. And of course, if you understand supernova 1A evolution, they're supposed to consume all the gases and not ever be able to happen again. So this was quite intriguing, and I think eventually a lot of effort went into determining what it was that the second. So this is about a year apart, and what are the chances of that happening in a spot of sky, right? So that was their main claim to fame a couple of years ago, and they're a really interesting bunch of guys and do some brilliant work. They detected this one last week.
It's really cool to just see a relatively unseeable star automatically just pop up in a galaxy far away. It's a pretty cool sight to see, so it's always exciting. Let me bring in things a little bit closer to home. Let me show a picture that I took a while back. There we go. This is the NGC, what is this, 2169 that I took last weekend. Well, actually, no, this was a month ago. I call this a 37 cluster because it looks like a 37. It's always one of my favorite ones this time of year to show at sidewalk events or at schools because you can kind of give the kids a little bit of a math problem tell them, what's 42 minus 5, or depending upon their age, kind of give them a math problem and then tell them to look through the telescope to see the answer, because it does actually look like a 37, so it's kind of a cool too. And some of the kids even point out that this star pattern over here, to the far left of it, kind of looks like a J. So it's sometimes they'll see other patterns, but the 37 kind of just pops out pretty specifically.
Yeah, that's great.
And then this was this is a image I got in December of Comet Catalina, and it's a little noisy, but I took it from my backyard, just about 20 miles north of Atlanta. But this is back when it had two tails. I think the tails have now kind of merged. I got a picture of it. I got a picture of it last weekend from the Deer Lake Astronomy Village. Here we go. So you can kind of see that it's definitely dimmed, and both of you can kind of see like it has one little faint tail kind of right going that direction. I'm sorry, going this direction, and then there's the larger one kind of going this way. So they've definitely kind of seem like they're folding in on each other. But we were at a dark sky site and we couldn't see it really naked eye, so it's definitely dimmed from what it was. All right, Paul, let's switch back over to you. And it looks like you got another part of the sun glaring there at us down below. So you want to, looks like we got a prominence there popping off the bottom part.
Yep, there's a few prominences here on the opposite side of the sun to what we were looking at before. Nothing major.
That's really nice.
It's a bit wobbly, there's a bit of cloud going through still.
Yeah, that's a good thing though about the sun and sometimes the moon is even if it is cloudy, you can still, if it's thin clouds, you can still kind of break out a little bit of it and get some views through some of the clouds. But it's good to see that.
That's great.
Yeah, when it comes in clear, it really does look good. It's really cool. All right, Stephen, have you found Sirius B yet for us?
Yes, I did, but believe it or not, I was listening to Peter there, and I remember that a couple of years ago, this was in April of 2014, believe it or not, in the northern hemisphere, I was able to photograph Centaurus A. We have a little window of a few weeks where Centaurus A and also Omega Centauri become visible to our extreme southern skies here in the northern hemisphere. And this is not a very good image, but I will, let's see if I can get it to pull up here. Here we go,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's Centaurus A as seen from Georgia in the northern hemisphere. This was in April of 2014. Again, not a very good image, but it was extremely low in the sky, barely over the trees. Took it again at Deer Lake and was pleased just to get anything really of an image that's so famous in the southern skies there. So you southern hemisphere guys will occasionally let us borrow a couple of your images for viewing for a short window. We do appreciate that very much, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to let you guys know, I think around where we normally observe in Georgia is around 33 to 34 degrees in longitude.
Yes.
So it kind of gives you an idea of how far north we are from the equator, and that we're still able to see some of the objects down there. I know there's also a couple times in the spring, I think it's the spring, early summer, where we can actually see Omega Centauri pretty well to image it as well. So that's a nice shot, though. Nice catch. What time of year was it, Stephen? Do you remember?
It was April
Okay.
2014. I'm going to try for it again this year. Try to get a little more data on it.
So was that at the zombie party then last year, or was that outside the zombie party?
It was 2 years ago, the zombie party.
Okay, yeah. The zombie party is our spring star party we have as part of our local astronomy club here in Georgia, and we call it the zombie party because that's the way we look after staying up all night for a few days taking images.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, let's see Sirius B real fast.
Okay. Let's see. All right.
There we
See.
go.
Okay, so again, this is another image of Sirius. However, what we did here, and we were kind of playing around with this, we wanted to see if we could get the companion star of Sirius to show up. It's called Sirius B, and we, gosh, took about a dozen or so exposures to finally get it to where you could actually sort of see it there. And it's not the best focus image, but you can see sort of around the 9 o'clock position the object there, and that is actually Sirius B. It's a star that sort of orbits around Sirius A, the one that we see. And I read on a website the other day it takes something around maybe 50 years or so to orbit its larger companion there. So only at certain times is it even visible, because sometimes it'll be completely in front or on the other side of Sirius. But right now, it's in a good enough position that if you image it just right, you can get it on the side there.
And it gets, I think it gets its furthest from our point of view from Sirius around the 2022, I think, year. So every year it's going to get a little bit further away. But this is something that in the last couple of years, whenever we're out and Sirius is up this time of year, we try to get it. A trick for anybody who is hunting for it, because this should be visible for most of anybody on the planet because of where Sirius is. But the trick to finding it is to look at Rigel first, the left or the right foot, depending upon if you're facing him or not, of Orion, because Rigel has a companion star too that is almost the same distance away as Sirius. But Rigel is only about 100 times brighter than Rigel B, whereas Sirius is 1,000 times brighter than Sirius B. So you can look at Rigel first and easily see its companion and see about the distance it is in your view, and then go over to Sirius and see if you could see an object about the same distance from Sirius. It's really hard to see because of the glare. Sirius is so bright. You really have to have really good seeing, really good stable atmosphere to be able to see it. And if you aren't tracking, Sirius B appears to be following the star. So as Sirius, if you turn off tracking or disengage your gears if you are tracking, and let Sirius drift across the field of view, then Sirius B should be following it. So it should be on the opposite side of the direction that it's moving. And so that's a way you can find it too. We actually saw it visually in my 10-inch Dob while Stephen was trying to image it in his 9.25 Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. So conditions were pretty good that night. Once I saw it in the Dob, I was like, "There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to image this thing if you can see it in the Dob." So
that's right.
And if anyone's listening and wondering what a Dob is, because I try to not make assumptions that people know what we're talking about all the time, a Dob is a Dobsonian telescope. It's basically a Newtonian telescope on a cheap little wooden rocker box to move the scope around. So, but it's one of the cheapest telescopes that you can get with a large aperture. So it's really good for beginners as a telescope. All right, Paul. Looks like you got a large image of the sun out now.
Yep, this is a full disk image of the sun in calcium K.
That's great.
Yeah. Nice sunspot there.
So is that the sunspot you were talking about before on the right?
Yep, that's the one.
And then notice with this filter, you can't really see the prominence as much as you can. So that's one of the differences using the different types of filters that you can use on the sun. Some show the prominences on the edge, like we were seeing earlier. Other ones show a little bit more of the surface detail and some of the different wavelengths of light. You can pick up on different levels of the surface. That is a really cool shot.
Mm. So I promised you a surprise or a teaser today. So I got some new toys during the week, and I've been out having a bit of a play to see what I can do with them. And the first one I got was on the left there, a telescope adapter for the iPhone. Now I'd had a couple of these before, but this one's particularly good. In that it's got these little suction caps and it just slaps onto the back of any smartphone, so it's not made for a particular phone. And because there's so many of the suction caps, you can kind of slide it around a little bit. So I've kind of just unshare that for a sec. I've got it here, so you can see it. Sorry, put it in front of the thing. So the phone sits here like that, and then goes through the eyepiece, right? So you can see it through there. Now, couple of little things. The iPhone slides around on it a little bit, which is an advantage because it makes it easy to adjust. But if you pick it up by the phone, sometimes you'll bump it and it'll slide around a bit. So what I find is it's just easy to just put your hand under it. It's got quite a large cradle there. Probably go on an iPad as well, but the iPad might be a bit heavy once it's on a telescope. So,
Yep.
So anyway, but that's not all I done with it. What we then did was put another thing that I've got, because I've been taking a bit of interest in the next step for me, which is really spectra. And so with an eyepiece, a 25mm Plossl eyepiece, and a star analyzer on the end of it, we were able to actually do some really interesting thing. And it was a bit. I've got an article about it on my blog, The Story, which is quite funny because I really didn't think this was going to work, because I'd used an iPhone at the eyepiece before and had struggled to does a brilliant job on the moon, but struggled to do anything else with it. So I sat down and thought it through. Came back with a bit of a plan. So I thought, oh, star analyzer, that'll be an interesting thing to do. But that's not the only thing. The other thing is what I'm now going to show you, which is called 645 Pro. I think it's called 645 Pro, which is a. I'm just going to throw it up on the screen here. If I can. I'll just end that because it's obviously locked up on me. Just throw this up on the screen. So you should be able to see that done. Down. And let me share it with you now that I've got it. Screen share. I'm having a bit of a play with this too because it's quite fun. Screen sharing my iPhone 6. So you should be able to see that and show that it's actually live. Usually it flips on its side as well. So this is a device for turning your iPhone into a DSLR. And maybe I was hiding under a rock somewhere and I hadn't realized that there were such wonderful apps like this for all our smartphones. So what I've now got, and I can't hold up to the camera here, oh, yep, but I've now got the star analyzer in this device, and what we're going to do is I've got a little cap to put over the end of it, and I'll show you it in a minute when we come back. And the beauty of this camera app is it can actually change. See, it even gives you live updates from Google. That's really helpful as well. We're putting a little cap over the end of it that's got a bit of alpha oil with a tiny hole in it, and we're going to poke this thing out the window. I'm just going to put my headphones down for a sec and see if we can pick up the sunlight through here, and see if we can. We're just going to zoom it in a bit. Zoom it in so that we get a bit of range here, and you can see we have the spectra of the sun, which is coming through a tiny little pinhole, and it's not very good there, but you can actually see it. So if we were to actually put this on a telescope where it's nice and stable, and the autofocus isn't constantly going nuts, you can actually hit the button here to turn the autofocus on or off, which is really, really handy. I'll just come back to the screen now. So you saw the spectra of the sun live now. So that's doing a tag team with Paul there.
Now, if you hook that up to a telescope and point it at a bright star, is it sensitive enough to get the spectra of that star as well, or does that
Yeah,
only work on the
well,
sun?
no, we'll just let me show. I'll just unshare that now and come back live. So what we're doing here is I had this, as you can see, the camera with the, I don't know if you can see it there, but with
Yep.
the software, the 645 software, and I've got a, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a tiny little pinprick in the end of it there. You see
Mm-hmm.
that?
Okay.
So we're just holding that over the end here on a little piece of 32mm pipe
Okay.
from Bunnings and holding that up. So it's going all over the place, right? So
I think I thought it was a special adapter to the spectra.
no. So it's got the star analyzer in there, so you can actually see that. So it's splitting out the first order spectra. Now that's just me holding it up just so you can have a live view today,
Yeah.
because you know it has to be live or we don't go. So so that's that. What I will share with you now is then what putting it actually onto a eyepiece, 25mm eyepiece, and then mounting it as per what I showed you in the photo before. We got this spectra from Betelgeuse, which is absolutely staggered me.
Cool.
So can you see that okay?
Yeah.
So what we've got here is the atmosphere, 4 Balmer lines, and a lot of detail in there that I did not expect to see. Because you know, when you think about the iPhone sensor, it's only 4.8mm across, and it's only 3.2mm high, and it is 1 micron per pixel. And what we've got to remember here that there's a lot of miniaturization and quality improvement in cameras. And the iPhone is, I think, its camera is 20. The lenses have a focal length of 29mm, and the camera is an f2 camera. So you think, what? And I was thinking, no, surely this can't work. All right. The problem is here is that as you zoom in to get spectra a nice long length across, I've yet to resolve how it's going to get treated by any processing software that we do. Now, the traditional method is when you calibrate a spectra, you got your prime light source on the left over here, which is that stripe on the left, that's Betelgeuse, and then you measure the number of pixels to the 4 Balmer lines that are evident in your spectra, and you know what the frequency of those Balmer lines are, and therefore you can then use a program that then solves it and gives you an angstrom per pixel, right, or nanometers per pixel. So,
Cool.
so that's the theory behind it. I'm not to that point yet, right? So I'm very much a beginner at spectroscopy, and there's a wonderful book by Ken Harrison called Amateur Spectroscopy for Amateurs, I think it's called. And it's really a good book, and it goes through the whole process from top to bottom. But the beauty of, like, if you had used a normal iPhone, that would not work. But with this 645 app, you can actually set the ISO of the film to whatever you want and use it like a traditional DSLR, and you can do like ISO 2000 at 500ths of a second, and I was staggered by how good it was, because what this app does is it gets into the photo processing chain or workflow, I think they call it, before JPEG starts to compress everything, right, down to what the iPhone likes to do. So yeah, amazing couple of apps. So I just thought that was my little live contribution today, and I'll be doing a lot more of this to try and nut it down, and because this is very useful for schools and kids and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing a lot more work on this to make sure I find out how I can actually do some science with it.
All right. Well, thanks, Peter. Hey, Stephen, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, give me just a second here. I think I got one more for you. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is another shot from this past week, last weekend at the Deer Lake Astronomy Village, and got two interesting things here. On the left side, the pillar of light sort of extending from the horizon up in sort of a cone shape. That is the zodiacal light. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And that is actually light reflected off of dust particles within the solar system. And here in the northern hemisphere, we can actually see the zodiacal light right after sunset. We're in a fairly dark location. In the southern hemisphere right now, they can see it in their morning sky as the sun is coming up. So, and also over on the right-hand side, you have a little bit of the winter Milky Way there. And you can actually sort of see, I believe that might be the double cluster up kind of toward the top there. But this is a shot that was, again, no telescope used here. This was again, a Canon 70D with a...
you can see Andromeda in there, too.
Yes, I just noticed that, too. I had an 11 to 16 millimeter wide-angle lens, a Tokina lens, f2.8, but you could basically get this with pretty much any standard wide-angle lens, 14 millimeter Rokinon or something like that. Again, just have a nice sturdy tripod. And I want to say this was a 20 or 25 second exposure at maybe ISO 1600 or 1200, somewhere around there. So these kind of shots, if people are looking to get into astrophotography, you don't need to run out and necessarily buy the most expensive telescope in the world. If you have a decent DSLR, Canon, Nikon, Sony, whatever, and a nice wide-angle lens, just pop it up on a tripod and point it at the sky. Of course, you'll have to use manual focus and everything like that. But see what you can get out of the sky, with a wide-angle lens. You probably can get some of the Milky Way and maybe even some of this zodiacal light here.
Yeah, that's a good shot. Speaking of Andromeda, I'm going to share an image I took last weekend. I'm going to try to anyway. There we go. This is a single capture of Andromeda, and I use this as an example as to why we take multiple images when we image. This shot, now I'm used to getting an airplane, or a satellite, but this one frame, and it was only this one, got two satellites actually crossing through this shot, through this one image. This was a 30-second exposure through Stevens 65 millimeter APO scope. But just one frame got two satellites there. Just to kind of show you what the actual image looked like when I processed it and stacked all the images. That was what it was after I took that satellite one out. So that is why when we image, we normally take, instead of taking one long, this was 30 minutes of 30-second exposures. So this was about 60 different exposures. And you can imagine if I just exposed for 30 minutes, assuming I had really good tracking, the image would have come out beautifully, but I would have been upset because those satellites and probably any number of other things could have been through the image. But by taking a series of shorter images, it allows you to, throw out those bad ones and leave you with a nice, impressive shot like this. And this shot actually has, you can actually see the satellite, galaxies of M31 or the Andromeda Galaxy. You can see a couple of the clusters, star clusters in it. But that is an amazing object to shoot. And then also that night I got this shot of M81 and M82. Got some really good detail. And M82, the little one right here on the side, had a supernova in it about a year or two ago, I think, if I recall correctly. Might have been 3 years now. So that was one of the northern hemisphere ones where we actually got to see one. And then just one more of my images I wanted to show, similar to what Stephen was saying. This is a 15-shot panoramic last weekend from the Deer Lake Astronomy Village, just as some clouds were starting to come in and we were about to pack up. But I got Sirius here, so that's for Sirius, and Sirius B we were talking about earlier. This is Rigel. I'm sorry, wrong screen. So this is Sirius, Rigel, If you zoom in on this, well, not on this image, but if you zoom in on the actual image, because I had to scale this one down, I actually got the flame. You can kind of see the flame nebula there. You can just make out a little bit of Barnard's Loop right there. M42, the Orion Nebula right there. And then you have the head of Taurus and the Pleiades kind of disappearing into the clouds there. But this was with a 50 millimeter lens, not through a telescope, just a 50 millimeter lens with my Canon 60D, and I just kind of pointed it up there, and I was tracking. So each shot was a 30-second exposure tracking, and then I just stitched them together to create this panoramic of the Orion area. I just wanted to show kind of all these little dark lanes and some of the nebulosity there.
Well, of course, in Australia, Betelgeuse is at the bottom, so.
Oh, yeah. It's upside down. Yeah. So this is what it looks like to us, anyway, in the northern hemisphere. I saw Russell join. Russell, do you have anything you have a live view or anything you want to share?
No live views. We have snow here tonight, so.
Okay. And where are you?
I'm just Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Way up.
Okay. Yeah, way up there. Trying to outdo us in the northern
I have
hemisphere.
some images I have to dig through.
Okay.
You come back to me in a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know about you guys, but I'm okay to hang on for another 15 or so minutes past the hour since we didn't show up until late, so we can just keep on going. Let me actually share some of the images that are on the Flickr group while Russell gets ready. So this is another image of M82. Actually, this says M82, but I thought it was, anyway, I can't keep them straight. But this is the Cigar Gallery by Paul Hutchinson that posted it on the Global Star Party image. That's a really nice, got some nice red detail. It's got a lot of detail in that galaxy if you get really up close to it. That's a nice spiral there by Damian Weatherly. Got another little satellite galaxy back there. Oh, this guy again. It's a nice image by our friend Paul. Let's see, this was February 11th was when it was uploaded, so I assume it was around then. Really nice detail there. Russell, just chime in whenever you're ready. I'll switch back over to you. Another image of the sun. I love showing images like this by David Blanchflower because they show what you can do with just a camera and a lens. No scope needed. And this has got some really good earth shine here on this one. It's really nice. More from Paul. Sorry, Paul, I don't mean to skip over your images real fast, but the Orion Nebula, that's an interesting take on the Orion Nebula by James Parker. The stars look really cool. Oh yeah, M51.
Ooh.
That's a nice one. And that's in LRGB, so that was a lot of work to get that one. Crescent Nebula. Kind of strange. Let's see. Oh, here we go. There's one by Russell. Jupiter and the Galilean moons there.
That's an amazing shot.
Yeah.
So Juno is only 5 months away now from
Yeah, I believe so. It's getting close.
Jupiter. So we're going to see it's going to go to a whole new level when Juno dives to within 1,300 kilometers of the cloud tops. So.
Yeah, I skipped over one image. There was one. I wanted to show this image. This image just amazed me when I saw it on the group by Sarah Wagger.
That is great.
Yeah, and that's a lot of detail in there. Let's see, did it say what she took this with? 3-pane mosaic in total. Exposures are, wow, 1,800 seconds. 20 hours of exposure time. That's a lot of work.
It is.
This right here looks like a creepy little face looking at you. It's kind of creepy looking. That is nice.
Yeah, it's got some amazing detail.
This is another shot that I like by Steve Brown. This was another example of what you can do with just a telescope and a lens pointed up at the sky, catching an iridium flare. And these things are pretty cool. I mean, it's not only cool that you can see these, looking at it with the naked eye, it just looks like a satellite that's going across the sky that gets bright for a couple seconds and then fades off. So, yeah, he doesn't say how long of a shot this was. It looks like a 57-second exposure. So that's why the clouds look like that, because they were moving by. But in the image, you can kind of see it trailing in here, and then it gets really bright for a couple seconds. And the reason why it does that is because solar panels reflect the sun right back down to us. And you have to be on a pretty specific spot on the planet at a certain time to see these. And there are websites like Heavens Above and Cal Sky that predict them. And it's just amazing that they can be predicted. All right, Russell, you ready? I see you got some.
Yes.
Go for it.
That's an image of Jupiter I took last night around 11:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time.
Wow, that's a nice red spot detail there.
It was shot with a 127 millimeter telescope and a NEX Image 5 camera. It's
How many
1,000 frames for the moon, 1,000 frames for the planet, and about 250 for the moons. Shot in 2 different exposures, obviously.
That is outstanding work.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, did you do any derotation with this one or not?
No, pretty fast. I was about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and at f12, rotation isn't much of an issue.
Okay.
I'd have to shoot about, I think it's 2:45 for me at f12 before I'd have to start to derotate. So.
Okay.
Camera's
Russell,
pretty fast. ROI. Yes.
do you try to plan your shots around when the spot is visible, or does you just sort of do it and if it's there, it's great, or how do you handle
Oh no, yeah, I totally plan. Yeah, I've an app on my on the computer that I use that tells me when the GRS is visible. Stellarium is a little off. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. Maybe I'm the only one. Has anybody noticed that Stellarium and the GRS transits don't really line up?
I don't know that I've ever tried Stellarium for that.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to. That's what I was using at first, and I was missing them, and then I started using Sky and Telescope's website. They have a GRS calculator on there that you can check out.
Cool. There's another shot here I want to try to share. Let me know if you guys can see this, because I'm still seeing Russell's shot. There we go. This is on the group page by, I'm going to murder this name, but Shahrin Ahmad. My best guess. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But this is something a lot of people have been talking about, so he kind of got an interesting angle of the Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Mars, the Moon, and Jupiter all in the early morning sky. So that's a really cool shot, really good shot. And I believe this is still visible for a little while. Not quite sure how long we're going to have Mercury, but it's a really nice shot. Cool. And then there was just one more shot in here I wanted to show. Where was it? Sorry, I'm scrolling so fast. That's not it. Where was it? Oh yeah, this one was really cool. Getting the plane flying, a couple exposures of the plane flying in front of the moon. Another example of what you can do without a telescope, if you're lucky. Pretty nice shot. All right. Anyone else on that's dialed in or connected want to share anything? Okay. We can just go through here. Yeah, here's my one of my last efforts of Jupiter. Wasn't ideal conditions, but it did get all 4 moons, so I was pretty happy about that. And then this is something I like to do from time to time and post these just to kind of give an idea of show that you know, stuff we see on the moon. It's, you know, give actual some size and some how you can relate them to how wide they are, and you know that you can see something that's, you know, 76 miles, 56 miles wide on the moon from Earth, even though the moon's 250,000 miles away. It's pretty amazing. Stephen, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
That's all I got tonight.
And here's something interesting that I did too, just playing around with my scope. This is my 8-inch SCT scope pointed at Polaris. Actually, Polaris isn't even in this shot. It was zoomed in so much. But I wanted to kind of show Polaris would have been kind of over here off of the frame. But I wanted to just see what I could get as far as star trails around the true point of rotation over the axis. So although us in the northern hemisphere like to say we have the North Star that we can point our telescopes to and align easily, it's not exactly right on the point. So that was just an interesting experiment. Here's another image I got of Jupiter. Just playing around. All right, Paul or Peter, you guys have anything else you want to share?
No, that's pretty much it for me today. So.
Okay. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, I don't see any comments on the chat, so why don't we just go ahead and adjourn this week's call. Thank you guys for joining in. Thanks for sharing your solar pictures, your gadgets there, Peter. Stephen, your cool shots of Sirius and Sirius B and the zodiacal light. And so hopefully we'll do this again in a few weeks. I think I don't know when the day is for the next one, but we'll post it, and then we'll actually hopefully get some live views going. I definitely want to try to do some live views through my scope one day, but that's all up to the weather, really. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. If no one has anything else, we'll go ahead and end the call, and we'll talk to you later. You guys in the Southern Hemisphere, have a good day, and everyone else, have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Good night.